Welcome, everyone. The following program will include what makes a location haunted, haunted locations around Toms River, and books about New Jersey hauntings which you can find at the Ocean County Library. Let's get started with what makes a location haunted. The first criteria isn't always necessary, but it is rather common, and that is the history or lore surrounding a location, particularly dark history or lore. The reason I say it isn't always necessary is because it is possible for a brand new building or home to be haunted, which could be due to surrounding locations with dark history, the sacred ground it was built upon, certain rock formations such as limestone, or nefarious activities of the occupants, such as demon summoning. If a location does have a dark history, it generally implies that the following took place there: murder, genocide, war, natural disasters, man-made disasters, such as arson, or human pain and suffering of any kind. Often, those who die suddenly and under tragic conditions such as these may not even know they are dead, and so they linger, confused, in the area where their lives ended. Other spirits may know they have died, but have chosen to stay either because they're searching for their loved ones, because they're afraid of what comes after, or because they have an attachment to the location and don't want to leave it. Dark histories can also cause residual hauntings. Residual hauntings are recordings of energy, wherein the spirit has moved on, but their energy from a specific moment in time has stayed behind. You cannot interact with residual hauntings. If there is no dark history surrounding a location, perhaps lore could be the culprit. Lore relates to subject matter that has been passed down through generations by word of mouth. An example would be the Jersey Devil. Next, EMF readings. EMF refers to measures of electromagnetic fields. Sometimes, defects in buildings can give off natural EMFs, which are known to cause paranoia and even physical sickness. If the EMF reading is not due to structural issues, however, a spirit could be the source. An eerie feeling. Humans can be very sensitive to spirits, if you're open enough. Imagine you're sitting down at your desk and a person walks up behind you. You may not hear them, but you somehow sense that they're there. Sure enough, you turn around to see that you are correct. Something told you that you weren't alone. You can sense spirits in the same way. Has a space ever made you feel so uneasy that you had to walk with your back up against a wall? Have you ever felt so uncomfortable that you could swear someone was in the room with you, watching you? This is what I'm referring to when I say an eerie feeling. These eerie feelings can be evidence of a haunting, especially when they are accompanied by other aspects of a haunting, such as dark histories and EMFs, and they shouldn't be dismissed. Disembodied voices are voices that can't be attributed to a living person. These voices can be heard in real time or afterwards through a recording device. If you work to debunk any possible explanations for the voice, such as a neighbor's voice carrying through an open window, a television playing in another room, a friend or relative, even the shuffling of an object that somehow sounded like a voice or a breath, and you still can't find a plausible explanation for it, then you may have captured evidence of a haunting. Items being moved. If you're one of those people who are known for losing your car keys, I wouldn't be so quick to blame it on a ghost. However, if you start to notice patterns, such as the same items being moved, or items being moved after you've started making mental notes of where you've left them, or especially if items move before your very eyes, then a ghost may be the cause. Cold spots. Spirits need energy in order to manifest. This energy sometimes comes from electronic devices, which is why your phone battery may drain just before you hear a disembodied voice or see an apparition. But the energy can also come from surroundings. In this scenario, the spirit is drawing energy from the air, which causes a drop in temperature. Another theory is that, in manifesting, a spirit opens a dimensional gateway, which creates a difference in air pressure, thus creating the cold spot you feel. Strange smells. A spirit will sometimes use scents to convey a message or to let you know who they are. If, in life, the person was a smoker, they may generate a cigarette odor to make their presence known. The same is true if your deceased aunt, who always wore the same perfume, is trying to communicate with you by generating that same smell. Other scents you might pick up on include food, flowers, or even smells that remind you of a certain time of the year, like firewood or pumpkin. Negative spirits also use smells to make their presence known. In the case of a negative spirit, you might smell rot, mold, or decay. Last, but not least, sightings. This one is pretty self-explanatory. If you see the manifestation of a spirit, then the location is likely haunted. Be careful to first try to debunk the sighting, if you can, taking into consideration things such as a reflection in a mirror or the shadow of someone passing by a window. If you're left with no other explanation, you may have just seen a ghost. Now that we understand what makes a location haunted, let's get into some notoriously haunted locations in Toms River, New Jersey. First up, the Ocean County Courthouse. Ocean County was formed on February 15, 1850. In 1851, the Ocean County Courthouse was constructed. According to the Ocean County Cultural and Heritage Commission, builders went with a, quote, Greek Revival style that reflected mid-19th century interests in classical architecture. This is the reason for the bold pillars in front of the building. Today, there are buildings attached to the main courthouse, but originally, the courthouse was just this portion of the building reflected in the picture here. The reason why the courthouse was such a small structure in the beginning was because, in 1851, Ocean County was New Jersey's least populated county. When you walk through downtown Toms River today, the courthouse seems unassuming, but there may be more going on than we think. Since 1994, people have reported strange occurrences in the courthouse, specifically in Courtroom 1. In Courtroom 1, it is said that doors rattle, lights turn on and off, and motion detectors go off when no one is even in the room. More convincingly, some have seen the apparition of a middle-aged man wearing a suit and tie. This article was published in the Asbury Park Press in 1994 and details some of these chilling reports. The article reads, a court attendant seated alone inside the jury room notices the door rattling and feels a rush of cold air blow past his neck. A sheriff's officer stationed outside the courtroom sees a smartly dressed man carrying a brown binder walk past him and disappear into the stairwell. Another witnesses a tear-shaped figure move swiftly across the ceiling and fade away. These ghost stories are not the makings of a Halloween prank. To some, they're sure signs Courtroom 1 in Toms River is no ordinary courtroom. It's a gateway of sorts into the spectral realm. There's definitely a ghost there, no question about it. Jane Doherty, president of the New Jersey Society of Parapsychology in Morristown, said when a number of ghostly sightings in and around the historic courtroom on Washington Street were described to her. It was built in 1850, then constituting the entire Ocean County Courthouse. They are much more common than people realize, she said. It could be there is more than one. The article continues. A former aide to assignment judge Eugene D. Serpentellis was working that night, May 2, 1993, on an opinion regarding a voting issue. About midnight, he went into a small kitchen area adjacent to the multi-purpose room to get a cup of coffee, when he saw it. The door handle to the multi-purpose room was turning, and the door was being pushed forward. Someone was pushing it very hard, said the employee, who did not want his name to be used. It looked like somebody was trying to get in from the multi-purpose room. Tom O'Connor, another employee, was walking by, and I said, Tom, there's someone on the other side trying to get in here. Tom came down and immediately opened the door, and there was nothing there. Nellie Hood, who works for the Ocean County Security patrolling the county parks and buildings, was working alone one weekend in 1989 when she walked into the first floor elevator in the courthouse's west wing and she heard a baby crying. It sounded like it was coming from above my head, Hood said. I looked up and was afraid I'd see a baby above the glass covering the lights, but there was nothing there. It was a weird thing. I got off and I could still hear it. No one believed her, she said. All these years I thought I was crazy. 2 days after the initial ghostly encounter, a sheriff's officer posted in the hallway outside Courtroom 1 reported seeing something so frightening it sent him running outside. The description of what he saw was specific. A middle-aged man dressed in a blue blazer, gray trousers, a white shirt, and red tie, carrying a brown binder. It was 2:35 a.m. This guy comes around the corner and I said, "Who are you? How did you get in here?" said the officer, who also spoke on the condition of anonymity. He looked at me and kept walking. I told him to stop and pulled out my weapon. In retrospect, the officer said, he must have been dreaming, because his head nodded and he woke up still seated at the desk outside the courtroom, and his gun was in his holster. I got a cold chill. It was really cold all of a sudden, he said. I said, "Hey, I'm out of here," and made sure the doors were locked and went downstairs. I must have been dreaming, but it's the most vivid dream I've ever had. The following Saturday, May 8, 1993, another sheriff's officer was seated inside the multipurpose room at about 6 p.m. He stood up to adjust the lights, and when he looked up toward the ceiling, he saw a tear-shaped figure, looking white like smoke, that moved very swiftly across the ceiling and disappeared. He got up and left the room. Such tales may seem ridiculous to skeptics, but to Doherty they sound all too familiar. The rush of cold air and the lights going on and off are actually very typical of ghostly behavior. The next haunted location in Toms River is the Toms River Shoreline. The Toms River Shoreline, including Shelter Cove, Silver Bay, Money Island, and Caddis Island, was one of many spots during Revolutionary War times where local mariners would loot unsuspecting British and French ships. These locals would lure the ships into dangerous waters through trickery. One trick used by locals involved creating false lights that confused navigators into thinking they were headed for a safe landmark. These lights were called ghost lights. As a result of these ghost lights, ships would crash into the shoreline and these local pirates would jump aboard and loot. Money Island, in particular, is said to have gotten its name because it was a favorite spot for pirates to bury treasure. It is said that the Toms River shoreline is haunted by the victims of these ships, victims who are left to drown. It is also said to be haunted by the ghosts of the pirates themselves. Over the years, there have been reports of apparitions, accompanied by mysterious and unexplainable lights along the shoreline, leading some to believe that certain pirates are still playing their tricks. Exit 82. In such a fast-paced state like New Jersey, car accidents are unavoidable. As such, roadside apparitions have been reported for generations, seen roaming the same locations where they met their untimely deaths. This is especially true for Exit 82 in Toms River, haunted by the notorious Parkway Phantom. The Parkway Phantom has been seen since 1955, when the Parkway was first completed. More specifically, the Parkway Phantom is seen around the 8-mile stretch. The apparition only appears at night and is described as being very tall, wearing a top coat belted at the waist, and is seen trying to cross the road while waving his arms in the air. The way in which his arms are waving, though, is said to be very strange, with both arms bending at the elbow in a precise fashion. So, who is this apparition? According to a former state trooper interviewed by Weird New Jersey, this stretch of highway has seen more than its fair share of accidents. The Phantom, therefore, could be anybody. However, a paramedic in the area thinks there may be a clue. The following is an excerpt from an article titled "The Parkway Phantom of Exit 82," posted on WeirdNewJersey.com. We all work as paramedics in Ocean County, and we see a lot of fatal accidents. About 5 years ago, on a rainy night along the spot on the Parkway, where it is also Route 9, there was a guy whose car broke down on the curve. He pulled off to the side and began to walk along the shoulder when a driver hit him, throwing him into the woods and killing him. When the paramedics got there, they knew someone had been hit, but due to the darkness and rain, they could not find him. They finally did and tried to revive him, but it was too late. Several weeks later, the same medic crew was coming back from Kimball Medical Center in Lakewood, heading toward Toms River, when they saw someone on the side of the road waving them down. By the time they were able to pull over and back up to the spot, the man was gone. But they noticed it was the same spot where the man was hit only weeks before. They just blew off the event until another crew reported a similar event in the same area. To date, about 3 teams have seen this. So, is the Parkway Phantom the victim of this unfortunate car accident? Possibly. However, in the late 1950s, early 1960s, long before the car accident mentioned here, a different phantom was seen in the same location. This article was published in the Asbury Park Press in 1962. The article describes hundreds of people who gathered in Toms River with hopes of seeing a ghost. According to the article, motorists had been sending in reports of a female ghost dancing on the parkway. In other cases, it was described as the ghost of a female pedestrian crossing the road. Sadly, these onlookers didn't witness any ghosts that evening, but that doesn't mean that the Parkway Phantom isn't real. As I've said, the Parkway has had an unfortunate number of fatalities, so it's possible that more than one phantom roams those roads. It is also possible that the same phantom has taken on different forms over the years, doing so to toy with passerbys. We'll never know for sure, but one thing is certain. Something or someone haunts exit 82. Last, but not least, could downtown Toms River, as a whole, be haunted? It is said that, at night, downtown takes on a different feeling, a feeling that you are not walking those historic streets alone. Some have even seen ghostly apparitions wandering beside them. It's certainly not out of the realm of possibility that downtown could be haunted. After all, it has roots in the Revolutionary War. On March 24, 1782, Toms River was attacked by about 120 British Loyalists. Before burning Toms River to the ground, leaving families homeless and afraid, the Loyalists attacked the blockhouse, which was guarded by Captain Joshua Huddy. During the fight, which lasted only minutes, several men were killed, including Loyalists, but also the brave men who were defending the blockhouse. Captain Joshua Huddy, who was commanding the blockhouse, was captured and killed. Huddy's death did not occur in Toms River. In fact, he was hanged in what is now Highlands, New Jersey, and it is said that his ghost still haunts the area where he died. Even though Huddy did not die in Toms River, it is possible that the men who died during the fight at the blockhouse located on what is now Robin Street, next to the municipal building, remain. If this bloody fight in 1782 is not the cause, perhaps we can look to the old Methodist cemetery, located in downtown, at the corner of Hooper and Washington. Established in 1828, the cemetery includes the graves of 3 soldiers who fought in the Revolutionary War. While these soldiers did not die in the blockhouse fight, perhaps they are drawn to downtown due to the numerous statues, memorials, and even a cannon on display in front of the courthouse. It's physical attachments such as these that often provoke a spirit, or spirits, to linger. Now that you're properly frightened by the hauntings in Toms River, New Jersey, you're probably wondering, are all hauntings bad? When a door opens on its own, or you hear footsteps when you're alone in the house, your first reaction may be one of fear. But I want you to stop and think for a moment about what you might do if you were a ghost. Imagine you are on the other side and no one can see you. No one knows you're there. No one even knows you exist, or at least they don't believe that you do. You're lonely and you want to communicate. Is there a way for you to communicate that wouldn't frighten someone? Probably not. Even if you were to write the word hi with a smiley face on the bathroom mirror before it fogs up, the living would be terrified. All you can do is perhaps open a door, turn on a light, maybe even show yourself for a brief second of time. All those actions are non-threatening, but the living are essentially afraid of what we don't understand. So, no, not all hauntings are bad. In fact, most hauntings aren't bad. Chances are you'll know when you should be afraid. If you hear banging, catch an aggressive EVP, see a demonic figure, smell death or decay, or if bad things start happening to you or your loved ones, then you should seek help, because that haunting does not come with good intentions. But if you simply experience something out of the ordinary, don't jump to conclusions. Don't assume a spirit is there to harm you. Try communicating with them. And I don't mean through use of a Ouija board. Ouija boards can accidentally open portals and invite negative entities into your home, entities who mean you harm. I mean, talk aloud to them, introduce yourself, set boundaries, and be open. If you'd like to read more about hauntings in the Ocean County area or New Jersey as a whole, the library has a lot of books which you can check out using your library card. These are just some of the books we have that might interest you. Ghosts of the Garden State, Haunted Places in New Jersey. Folklore of the New Jersey Shore. The Shore Ghosts and Other Stories of New Jersey. Haunted New Jersey, Ghosts and Strange Phenomena of the Garden State. Ghosts of Central New Jersey, Bizarre, Strange, and Deadly. Weird New Jersey, your travel guide to New Jersey's local legends and best-kept secrets. The Big Book of New Jersey Ghost Stories. Thank you for attending Haunted Tom's River. Stay spooky.
Support public libraries. Like, share, and subscribe for more great videos.